I work with the team on the Transform World programme, and thank you for coming along to one of our teacher CPD sessions, of which we run throughout the year, and we'll be running more until the end of this calendar year, till the end of December 2022. As many of you may be aware, as well as showcasing lesson plans, school programmes and events through various different like-minded organisations and Transform World partners, Transform World also run these teacher sessions to bring together a community of educators, empowering young people to take action on things they care about. And today's session is looking at the Schools Climate Action Planner, which is a Transform World tool that launched back in September 2021, so last September, that helps teachers and schools create a personalised plan that prioritises the actions their school can take to reduce its environmental impact. Currently, we have 282 schools signed up to the planner with 189 users of the tool. And we hope that if you haven't already used the tool, this session will provide you with information and guidance on how you can do so in the future, not only as teachers and members of staff, but also with your young people. First of all, I'm going to provide a bit of a brief introduction about what the tool is and how it works, and more information about the tool can be found on the Transform World website, which all the links will be posted in the chat throughout the session. Then we're going to hear from Alex Green from Ashton, who's going to talk about the Let's Go Zero campaign and how Let's Go Zero supports schools in their transition to carbon zero. And then we're going to hear from Rob Potter, who's from Manchester City Council, who's going to talk to us about how local authorities can support schools and the powerful role that schools play as part of a community. Followed by Kathleen Hughes, a teacher from Manchester, and her student Madeline, who are going to talk about their use of the tool, how they've used it in their school, what they've been up to, and also Zoe Wiffenden, who's also going to talk about her use of the tool in her school as well. So there'll be an opportunity for you to ask lots of questions, for us to go into breakout rooms and discuss how you might use the tool already in your school or how you might be interested in using it in the future. And hopefully this will provide you with information and guidance of how you can use the tool if you're not already using it. So to start off with, I'm just going to give you all a really brief overview of what the tool is, how you can access it and what the purpose of it is, before we get on to our panelists who are going to talk more about how schools can be supported in their journey to carbon zero. So the Schools Climate Action Planner, as I mentioned, was launched in 2021 in September, and the idea was that this would be a tool that was really easy to use and a free resource for schools and school communities to support them in the actions that they were taking to be more sustainable. The idea of the tool is that it helps schools identify the most relevant actions that they can take based on their school situation, so budgets, the campus, the type of curriculum that they're teaching, the actions that they might already be doing. And it allows students and teachers to design their own downloadable action planner. So it's all free of charge, it's all accessible to all members of the school, and can be shared really freely across the school community once the plan is drawn up. The idea is that it provides free advice and resources from not only sort of the actions point of view, but also organisations who are working in these spaces. So there's actions that are linked to organisations, one of which is Let's Go Zero. You can join the Let's Go Zero campaign as part of your action plan, and other organisations across the environmental and education sectors to support schools with the work that they're already doing in certain areas. So how does it work? The tool, first of all, works by asking you a number of questions about your school. These should be pretty simple to answer. They're quite generalized questions, but it helps us to get an idea about what your school might look like and a bit of the background of your school. And these questions are simple yes/no questions that form the first part of answering sort of the first set of questions for the planner. Following this, there are 4 pathways that are drawn up for a school, and there are over 60 actions in total in the planner, but this plan and pathway, set of 4 pathways, provides your school the opportunity to sort of prioritize what actions might be most sort of helpful to you or more realistic for you to achieve as a priority in your school community. And so the pathways are split into 4. Community, so what's involving individuals beyond the school community, the immediate school, maybe the wider community around your school. The curriculum, so what young people are learning in school. culture, changing behaviours, changing attitudes, supporting young people to change their sort of idea of what they might think about sustainability or moving towards carbon zero. And campus, what physical changes could you make to your campus area? Maybe that's planting a wild meadow, or changing solar panels on your school, or changing sort of the physical parts of your campus, of your school. And these are prioritised based on impact, financial cost and time, and those are prioritised based on the questions that you initially answer at the start of your planner questionnaire. So from this, you are able to add actions to your plan, say that you've already done it, if that is the case that you've already completed it, or if it's not applicable, something that, for instance, if it said designate a no mow zone in your school, but you didn't actually have a grass area, then you could remove it from the plan and say it wasn't applicable at any time. You're able to add, remove and complete actions at any time, and you can go back on if any situation changes in your school, say you suddenly have some budget or some finances that you could use towards sustainability within your school, then you could go back into the plan and change the answers that you had initially inputted. Once you've done that, you are given a fully downloadable plan, and this looks at not only the actions that you've chosen to add to your plan, but also gives you a bit more detail about what those actions mean, but also links you to organisations, as I mentioned, across different sectors who are potentially working on that area and can provide you with support. So the looking for inspiration area is really important because it's linking you to organisations that are already operating this area. And not only that, in the looking for inspiration section, schools who are doing those actions and sharing their updates about what they're completing, will share their case studies within the looking for inspiration section. So it's, again, sharing experiences across schools, so that you can hear about what's happening, not just only in your school, but other schools across the UK. To share updates, it's pretty simple on the website. There's just a few questions that we ask schools to fill in. And the idea behind this, as I've already mentioned, is that we just really want to get people sharing best practice and sharing their experiences. You're going to hear from Kathleen, Madeline and Zoe shortly, but it's great to hear and see other examples of schools and what they're up to. And this is that's the point of this functionality of the tool, is to really encourage schools to be sharing their updates and what they're up to. So to access the tool, as I said, it's free. You need to be a registered user of Transform Our World, which is free if you're not already. But the tool is accessible through our website, and you can get planning today if you so wish. It can be something that you do as an individual in your school. It can be something you do as a community. It can be something you do as a class. If you've got an eco committee, maybe it's something that you work together to draw up and share across the community of your school, but work on it in a small group. It's totally up to you, and it can be flexible to whatever your school requires or what you'd like to do with the tool. So that gives you a bit of a brief overview of what the tool is, and hopefully, if you haven't already had a look at it, please do go and have a look on the website. You can mess around with it and trial it out, and if you have any issues, you can contact us and we can sort of reset things. It's about just being a tool that is hopefully really accessible and easy for you to use and really helpful in your schools. So that gives you a little bit of an idea about what the action planner is. And for the rest of the event, we thought it'd be great to hear from a range of organisations who, my screen has crashed, which is really unhelpful. A range of organisations and teachers who are using the tool and who are working in this space. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen if it will let me, which it won't. There we go. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to pass over to Alex from Ashton, who's going to talk to us about the Let's Go Zero campaign and about how Let's Go Zero is supporting schools.
Hi everyone, really great to be here and to be able to join you, and loved hearing all the details of the action planning tool there. I've talked to so many schools about it, but to actually hear a bit more was really great. So I'm from Ashton. We're a charity. We're London based. We work with schools across the UK. We run the Let's Go Zero campaign with the support of lots of brilliant organisations. And the campaign is there for every school across the UK, schools, colleges and nurseries, to sign up to say they want to be zero carbon by 2030. It's about schools showing their ambition, where they want to be, what they want to be doing, and being that demand and demonstrating how they want to be leaders as a sector, as a group of people, and taking on that challenge that our students have thrown at us and said, right, we need to take action. So it's about showing that schools really want to do that. So I've worked my slides. Our climate is changing. It is all around us. Locally, it's changing internationally, globally. We can see it, we can feel it. We have an emergency that we need to deal with, and we need to be taking action. There's just so much action out there. So having a tool like this actually is really, really useful to help give us a bit of a steer, give us that little helping hand. And that actually, by being part of things like Let's Go Zero as a campaign and joining up and learning from others, that really helps us to take action collectively. And why schools? So why do we work with schools? We work with schools not because they're a problem, not because you're one of the big horrid dirty sectors out there, actually because it's a really, really good opportunity. The reach and the way that schools work with their communities, their students, families, out into their local household and businesses, there's such a lot of potential there to get that big society shift that we need. So by working with schools, not only can we help them to cut their impact now, because although it's small, it is, there's still a decent carbon impact from your buildings and activities, but actually it helps to get that impact reduction out in people's homes straight away. But it also helps to get people to understand about climate and impact and behaviours, so that maybe in 10 years' time, when we're asking people to make some pretty crazy lifestyle choices and changes, actually people will have a better understanding, and it'll be easier, make our day jobs easier. So that's why we work with schools. And it's such an exciting sector. There's so much going on, there's so much activity, and there's so much enthusiasm. And I've worked with schools in sustainability for quite a few years now, and the shift that's happened in about the last 3 years to the way that behaviours are changing in schools. I would never have set up a campaign for schools to show they want to be zero carbon. Schools wouldn't even known how to be what the concept of zero carbon. And now we've got them signing up all the time. We've got well over 1,000 schools already signed up all across the UK, and that's fantastic. And so we also have the brilliant changes that are going on within the Department for Education. And yes, there are challenges with what's going on with government. There's no money coming out. We know that. And we're working to see how we can give that the nudge it needs. But you may have read that the new Sustainability and Climate Change Strategy came out from the government a couple of weeks ago. If you haven't read it, Google it, read it. It's really interesting. It gives a good sense of direction and how we're moving, and as a sector where we're going. And there's a couple of bits that I've added in here. That so Department for Education has said now that every educational setting will need to have a nominated sustainability lead and put in place a climate action plan by 2025. So you're leading the way here, guys. If you're you're ahead of the game, because it's something we all have to do. We know there's going to be more demands on reporting and managing our carbon impact. So actually, this is great stuff, and we can see that there's an element of sort of levelling up going on, that all schools, all educational settings are going to be following in your footpath. So I'll leave it there, and I'm going to pass, I think, back to Pinar to go on to our next speaker. But here's some contact details. If you're not signed up as a school or trust to our campaign, please sign up, be part of the movement for change. There's our contact details there. You go to the website, you register your school there, and then you need to be an authorised person to do it. So you need to have senior leadership approval, and then you're part of that big movement for change. If you're part of an academy trust, the whole trust can sign up together. Get in touch with us. We send you a spreadsheet. It's very exciting. But yeah, the more schools that sign up, the louder the voice gets. I'll pass you back now.
Awesome, thanks Alex. And yeah, it's a fantastic campaign, and if you're not already part of it, then you can tick off 2 things by being part of Let's Go Zero and also adding it to your action planner and completing it already. So yeah, an awesome and really important campaign to be part of. And yeah, hopefully lots of you already have heard about Let's Go Zero and are part of it already, but if not, Tony's just posted the link to Let's Go Zero in the chat there. I'm now going to hand over to Rob, who's going to talk who's from Manchester City Council, is going to talk to us about local authorities and what local authorities are doing in the case of Manchester City Council to support schools again in this journey. Because yeah, it's really important that everyone's working collectively. As Alex said, it's not just sort of different schools feeling like they're alone. It's all part of a massive movement of change that needs to happen, and councils are a really important part of that. So Rob, I'll hand over to you to talk more about that.
Yeah, thanks, Bina. Just share my screen so we can see the slides. Some really great, so everyone hopefully can see them, the slides, and I'll just do the old presentation. Well, thank you. So obviously there's some great frameworks there in terms of what's out there and what schools can sign up to. But what I'm going to talk a little bit about is what we can be doing as a local authority and what Manchester is doing. And obviously we've got teachers on the call from all different parts of the country. And I can't speak for other local authorities on this, but I thought we'd just give some examples of what Manchester's doing. And then at the end, I'll kind of touch on some next steps for what you might ask of your local authority and how they might help you going forward with this agenda. So as I said, I'll quickly touch on what we're doing as a council. Alex done a great job there of explaining why schools are really important in this. So I'm just going to give a bit of context as to why we're doing this as Manchester City Council. So the City Council's pathway there kind of shows you that, it looks like we're doing really well as a City Council. We're below the line. We're well on track to be net zero by 2038, which is our target. But then if you have a little look at that next slide, this is actually where we're at as a city. So it's great that as a council and everything we directly control is on track. But as a city, we're still a long way off, and we're not quite where we want to be. And a big part of that is schools. And Alex, as I said, has explained exactly why we need to get schools involved. It's not just about the emissions, but the kids that we're speaking to, they can be the ones to lead the change for the future. They can also lead into that behaviour change with parents, with communities. So this is why as a council, we've decided to focus on schools as a big part of our climate agenda. So the first kind of thing that we're doing is a Be Green Summit coming up in June. And unfortunately, as I said, this is only aimed at Manchester schools, but hopefully it's an example for maybe what you could be pushing your own local authority to do.
Rob,
and we'll be having.
Rob, can I just interrupt?
Yeah, of course.
Your slides aren't moving, I'm afraid. I think we're looking at a different screen to you.
Does it not say first?
We're not on the presentation view. If you're able to find the presentation view.
Of course, yeah. Is that better?
There you go. Great. Thanks.
Yeah. Sorry. There you go. So yeah, I'll start that one again. Slight technical hiccup. So yeah, we're doing this Green Summit, which is all about signposting the support that's available for school leaders to try and start thinking about tackling climate change. And it can be quite overwhelming. There's a lot out there, and I'm sure as teachers who are enthusiastic about this, you might have had some struggles trying to convince your heads, your business managers, what they can be doing about it. So our kind of first step is we're going to have this big summit and start thinking about signposting what support, what resources are available. And this summit is going to be partly led by young people. We're going to have interactive workshops. But the other thing that's key is this transform our world tool. So one of the key workshops that we're going to be running is one all around what are the frameworks, what are the tools that are available already, so we can start looking at an action plan. As Alex talked about, in that DFE strategy, some sort of climate action plan is going to have to start being formulated. So what can we signpost them towards to start developing that? So it's all about assisting school leaders with forward planning. So obviously that's where we're at as Manchester City Council, but within your own local authorities, what you can be trying to get them to do is, have you got some sort of resource hub? So there's lots out there, but sometimes it can be overwhelming, as I said. And what we need to do is have somewhere where schools can go nice and easily and find out what different resources are available. And that's something you can do relatively easy, be it on a school's website that your local authority might have, be it on a dedicated hub, whichever way that may be. The other thing that often we kind of have found with schools is business managers are quite overwhelmed with this whole idea of procurement, buying things, your catering services, your cleaning services, etc. And what they'll do is they'll just go for the easiest option, and it's completely understandable. But as a local authority, what you can be doing is you can be encouraging other schools to pick up the phone to each other and say, well, if we take the catering services, we can buy that in a bulk as, say, a set of 6-7 schools. We can get a discount on it, and we can ensure it's sustainable. So if you go to your local authority and say, can you give us some sustainable suppliers for your catering, for your cleaning, for your printing services, all of a sudden, you're not only reducing your carbon emissions, you're also getting a cheaper deal, which is what's going to appeal to your business managers ultimately. And that's something you can do relatively simply. And procurement accounts for about 50% of school emissions, which might surprise you, because often you'll hear the issue is energy. How are we going to deal with this expensive energy costs? And that is true, but that's something that we may not have the funding for. This procurement framework and working together on procurement is a much simpler, easier way forward. And as Alex touched on, DFE strategy, it's come out and it's a great start. So what you can be doing is send an email to your local authority education department and say, have you got a response to this DFE strategy? What are you going to be doing going forward to start thinking about dealing with this DFE strategy? Have you got something in place? So I am unfortunately going to have to shoot off relatively soon because I've got some other meetings. However, if anyone would like to sort of send me an email, ask me any questions, how you might go about contacting the local authority, very welcome to do so. And I'll drop my email in the chat so that you're able to do that. But thank you for listening. Sorry about the technical hiccup too.
Don't worry, and awesome. Thanks, Rob. That's really, really helpful. And also just to sort of add, we're really also, as well as sort of Rob has offered to provide assistance with talking to local authorities and finding out more about what local authorities are doing. Similarly, through Transform Our World, we're sort of trying to have more conversations with the local authorities as well, not only about the tool, but about how we can be supporting schools to work together more collectively on regional sort of areas as well. So yeah, please do. Thanks, Rob, for offering your contact details, and similarly, get in touch with us as well if you've got any queries about anything. But yeah, thank you so much, Rob, and to Alex. Now I'm going to hand over to Kathleen Hughes and her student Madeline from Gorse Hall Primary School in Tameside, who are going to talk to us about using the tool and what they've been up to and how they found using it, and sharing advice on how you could use it similarly in your school. So over to you, Kathleen and Madeline.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting us to speak. I'm Kathleen Hughes and this is my brilliant student, Madeline. And we're just going to comment on some of our experiences. As a teacher, I think, and I'm sure the rest of your teachers will agree as well, is time. Time is very, very limited to us. And so once I started using the programme, I found it really, really clear and easy to use. There wasn't really much more administration to use, because once you've chosen and tailored your global action plan from the menu, it's really quite easy and user friendly, because many of the topics are curriculum linked anyway. So you've got your habitats, your electricity, your life cycle. So, and then you can add additional sort of enrichment opportunities to widen your children's skills and knowledge as well. And for us as well, although we've been an eco school now for nearly 25 years, we thought it doesn't matter whether you're at the beginning of your eco journey or whether you are a veteran or whether you're in the middle, because again, you can pick from the menu, you can choose bite-sized, easily managed, achievable chunks, depending again what sort of pathway you want to take. So how does the programme easily fit into the eco academic school calendar? Well, for us, we had an energy focus. We did the switch off fortnight, and we've just had the schools just had solar panels and LED lighting installed, which we've been really, really fortunate to get. We have campaigned for a long time for this. For biodiversity, we did the RSPB Big Schools Count, and then we started a gardening club as well. And in March, it's the big spring clean, so we were able to do the litter focus and look at the waste around the school and how we dispose of waste. And May time, it's No Mow May, and that's a really, really easy one to do as well. But we are going to do an audit on the grassland that we're going to leave unmown, so the children, that will fit in with the habitats curriculum. So And then afterwards, when the grass has grown, we can do another audit. So that really is exciting for our children, because we can really get to grassroots levels and monitor and sort of audit those changes. Clean Air Day is coming up on June the 16th. So the information that's on the climate plan for Clean Air Day is exceptional. And do you want to talk about some of the Clean Air Day things that we're going to be doing?
We're going to do an awareness video telling people that the polluted air is an invisible killer. We're going to design stop idling engine posters, and we've made promises to walk to school more, and now 65% of the children are now walking to school. We've campaigned outside school telling parents and carers about the polluted air. And I will fast fashion the activities too, because I can't wait for our fashion show.
Recently, we've just done, I don't know whether everybody can see this, but we've just done a little bit of a focus on fast fashion and the negative impact that is having on our environment. So each class was able to do a curriculum linked theme. So and then we're now going to do a fashion show in June time to celebrate our Eco 25. So we've really enjoyed using the Climate Action Planner. And if at any time anybody wants to contact us or phone us or come into school and see the sort of things that we're doing, then you're welcome to do so. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much both, and really exciting to hear about all the things that you've been up to, and also all the things you've got planned for Clean Air Day really soon, including the fashion show, which sounds really great. And thank you for, we could all see the photos and the pictures, so that was really lovely. Thank you for sharing that. And just so everyone's aware, Kathleen is based in Tameside in Greater Manchester, and thank you for offering to be contacted by people if you've got any questions, Kathleen. We'll share everyone's information afterwards in an email to everyone, so don't worry about that. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to also pass over to Zoe to talk about how the Action Planner has been used in her school as well. And Zoe is based in Stockport at Fairway Primary School. So I'll hand over to you, Zoe.
Thank you. Really hard to follow because everything has pretty much been covered really, but I can start with really where our situation was as a school. So we started really about 3 or 4 years ago, so not a huge amount of time ago, when I completed the United Nations Accreditation Award to be an accredited climate change teacher. Because to be perfectly honest, once I started doing this course, I was completely mortified at the fact that we hadn't been teaching these things before, and how we were going to then embed this within our school and how we were going to take it forward. At the time, I was lucky enough to be the PPA cover teacher. So after I'd finished that, I then started to have a day in every other class from nursery to year 6 every other week, where they focused on both forest school and climate change for the entire day. So they would get a huge amount of input, and especially year 5 and 6, where we were looking at the sustainable development goals. But there was an awful lot of information out there, some of which is good, some of which is not so good, some of which works, and it's a bit of a minefield. So when a couple of years ago we were asked to have a look at the development of this action plan, it was a revelation really, because it managed to get so much information in one place. And although I was coming at it from very much, I was doing everything in my school, everything is very restricted due to budgeting and time, it was really easy to just pick really simple things that I could do that weren't going to require a huge amount of background planning, a huge amount of time, a huge amount of pressure. So once you have answered the simple questions, you are literally faced with things that you can do, not things that are going to take time and things that are going to add pressure to our already ridiculous workload. And then you end up with a really simple, so this, I don't know if you can see it. This was our planner. So you've basically got that and that, but it also manages to list the things that you've already done. So you end up with something like in our class, because I'm now back in class and I've got year 5, and I put it up on the wall and I said, right, this is what we're going to achieve this year, which actually turned into this is what we're going to achieve this half term, because my children are already quite knowledgeable. They've had 2 years of an awful lot of climate change teaching. And so they're going, well, we can do that. Well, we'll do that. We planned a week off timetable to coincide with COP26. So we went back into the action planner and chose different things that we were able to do that could then develop some skills. We've gone further in some areas that I will at some point get on to add into the planner to give other people some ideas about where we've gone forward. In our school situation, we've got a high school next door. We're at the end of a small road, so we didn't have a huge amount of issue with the air pollution sections, but then they started to build a new school on the school site next door. So we've done a massive project this year on clean air, and we've got involved in a project with Plume Labs where we've had environmental air monitors, which with COVID has actually been absolutely brilliant, because we've also used those to tell us when the pollution within the classroom itself isn't healthy. So the science that they've got out of this is absolutely phenomenal. It's been brilliant. We've also recently within Stockport been involved in a new climate action strategy where we, as a class, we had a small introduction, about an hour's session, and then went away and started to talk about our own climate action ideas and our own climate committees and what we were going to do. And we've come up with ideas of the things that our children can do, things we can do as a school, things that we want the authority to be doing, which has led to us being invited to a Stockport Council meeting in the next few weeks, where they're going to learn about climate debate and putting their ideas forward, which again has been able to tick off loads more things for us. So the tool has been a godsend. So even though we've come at it maybe further along the line because we'd already started some of these things, to be able to have everything in one place that I can stick on a wall, and children are involved in the development of, and children been saying, well, why don't we do this? So we ended up actually having lots of the original action plan just kind of cut and pasted up onto the wall. So the children were saying, well, we should do this one next, because now we're doing habitats, we can get extra tree planting in. And even though we've ticked that one off, we can say, well, we've done it twice. So giving the children the opportunity to really take control and move it forward from their perspective has just been brilliant. And there's no pressure with it. There's just lots of really good ideas and lots of really helpful websites that you can go to and just get people involved. And it's a really good tool and a really good way of actually getting climate change within our curriculum, within a non-threatening environment, giving you loads of ideas, loads of support. And there are so many people out there that are willing to help. And like Kathleen said, anything that we can do as a school, we will certainly do to help you. There we go.
Great, thanks so much, Zoe. That's really, really great to hear, and fantastic to hear about all the things that you're up to in your school as well. And I think someone mentioned in the chat as well, really lovely to feel like there's things that can be or have been achieved already by schools that can be ticked off or added or completed on your action planner from the start. So it doesn't sort of feel like an uphill battle. There's likely to be actions that you're already doing or have already done that you can start to see that progress immediately from setting up the planner. So thank you so much for sharing your experiences of that. I just wanted to also just answer a few questions from the chat, which I know we're going to have time for questions at the end, but just to give a bit of an outline about the sort of capability of the tool. So the tool was launched in September last year. And at the moment, generally, there is only the capability for one member of staff to log in to the action planner to create it and to set it up. However, that doesn't mean that it can't be shared. And as Zoe was holding up, you can download the action plan and share it with colleagues across the school community. So it requires one person to sign in to physically have entered the information. But once you've decided what tools you like to do, that can be shared across classes, across teachers, across communities. If you work in multi-academy trust or in a partnership of schools, that could be an action plan that you share across all of your schools. So yeah, that's sort of where we're at the moment. So you can only have one login to the system. However, and I just wanted to mention this really quickly because I've seen a couple of people in the chat have said that they're from local authorities. We are really open to having conversations with the local authorities or multi-academy trusts or school partnerships or trusts who are interested in further developing the tool. So we have the possibility to create a collaborative tool across multiple schools in a partnership or in a locality where you can see progress from multiple schools, not just one school. So if that is sort of interest to you, if that's within sort of your remit in a role in a local authority, or if you're interested in that as a staff member, please do get in contact with us. I'll leave our contact details in the chat, and then we can follow that up with a conversation. There is a financial cost to it. We don't have the capability yet, and it's an investment piece that we want to be able to work on in the future, to be able to share it and continue to keep the tool as accessible and as available as possible. But if that is of interest to you in your schools, then please do get in touch.